it was kind of hard for me to want to explain what was going to happen in this episode because it felt like it was mostly trying to set up this new villain organization that's going to be the main villains for this arc, but not so much really because it's also trying to establish the fact that Midoriya, Bakugo, and Todoroki are all going to be going to their work studies with Endeavor, and Endeavor's there, and there's some stuff revolving around Hawks and his involvement with a couple of stuff and what he's doing. And basically the whole point of the episode I felt like was to establish the name of this group that had once existed before but now is seemingly coming back, called the Meta Liberation Army. And basically what they were before in the past, because they had once existed before then, like I said, was they were fighting for the freedom of free use of people's quirks, because back then they were trying to establish laws and regulations as to people's quirks in certain countries, and the Meta Liberation Army was basically set up to fight against that, but ultimately they were then defeated, and the leader had actually gotten incarcerated and he later died in prison. I actually did a little bit of research about this because I was a little confused as to who they actually were and like what they were insinuating was who they were, because I thought they were just like talking about the League of Villains, but I was like, are they talking about the League of Villains? Because is this just like a roundabout way that Hawks was trying to say that, like, yeah, the League of Villains are going to be doing some stuff in a couple of months? Because later on in the episode, Hawks gives Endeavor a book that's literally called the Meta Liberation Army. He highlighted a couple of stuff that was insinuating that the Meta Liberation Army was coming back. But I was like, is he talking about or referencing the League of Villains, or is he just talking about an entirely different group? And so I decided to go ahead and look it up because I was confused. And yeah, it's an entirely different group as opposed to the League of Villains. But then what I also read about as well is that it's also pretty obvious that this is going to be the case as well, because this just makes sense that the Meta Liberation Army is also going to be joining up with the League of Villains, creating the Paranormal Liberation Army, which is unique. You know, I think that this makes sense that this would definitely happen inside of this universe. There would be people who don't really like the rules and regulations against people's quirks and the free use of it. So of course there are going to be people who are going to want to fight against that because they feel that that's oppression. I think that makes a lot of sense. That they existed, and now that they're seemingly coming back because the leader, before he got incarcerated, actually had a son, and now he's the new leader of this new group who we're going to be seeing in the next coming weeks. But other than that, I feel like it's kind of all really the episode was just trying to do, was establish that their presence is there and they're going to be doing some stuff, and what they say in the episode is 4 months. And other than that, just the small amount of action that we get was pretty neat, I guess. Just kind of seeing how, at this point, because of the stuff that Midoriya, Todoroki, and Bakugo had to do, and, the villains that they had to fight, and just how accustomed they are to having to be able to use their quirks on the fly, and the fact that they were able to try to keep up with the number one hero, Endeavor, was interesting. They're just at this point where they're just so accustomed to having to fight and use their quirks on the fly whenever necessary, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was really neat. But other than that, there's also some stuff with Hawks, and he's still working for, I'm assuming, is the government, and I might look it up just to get a little bit more clarification and context as to who he's really working for, because he's clearly not trying to be a villain. He's clearly an inside guy. He's a double agent, which is interesting, and I think that makes sense that would eventually happen sometime or another. But then he also sees Best Genius in the episode, and he does something with him. I'm not really sure what he does or what he does to him, but Best Genius shows up. He says that he's going to go ahead and return back to being a hero, and then Hawks uses one of his feathers, which was previously established that he can basically use them as weapons, and it just cuts away before anything can happen. So I don't know what's really going on with Best Genius and what Hawks did, but obviously something's happening, and he's trying to get the League of Villains' trust, so maybe he did something. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to fucking speculate what he did. I might even decide to look up and see what he fucking did, but maybe it'll come back, and if I look it up, then it'll get spoiled for me, and I'd rather not see that happen. So whatever. I feel like the main purpose of this episode was just to establish a new villain organization, and I think it did it in a way that was fine, right? I think it made sense, because the fact that they're constantly spying on Hawks and are able to see him at all times, I think the way that he had to try to do it was fair. I think it made sense. But I don't know. I'm just not really sure what else is going to really be happening from this point forward. I don't know what kind of shit's going to be happening, obviously, because I've never seen it before, but I'm really curious to see as to why people have been saying that this is a arc that they're going to be really excited to see to finally get adapted for animation, because it's an arc that they really praise and they really like, and I'm curious to see as to why they feel that way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and wrap up the video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day. I'm out. Peace.